Yeah, so before I joined, I was a true solo. I started the firm with a laptop and a hot desk in a co-working space. Um, and I would say I actually did reasonably well for something that small. I did 116 my first year, 2019. But basically, it was like me doing everything. As I started to get more success, especially towards the end of the year, one of the things that you notice is with one guy doing everything, it starts to get chaotic and it winds up taking way too much of your time. For instance, I would be working on a brief, and the phone would ring, and I would stop to pick up the phone. And then I would be interrupting myself to go deal with administrative issues or malpractice insurance. And so it's one of those things that wound up being that a lot of times I would be like finishing briefs at like 9 and 10 o'clock at night. I was wanting to find a way to sort of get to a next level and not really finding it on my own. I have a fairly large case value in my practice. So when I was working as a true solo, I could only ever have like 4 or 5 clients at a time. And it turns out one particular client was over a third of my revenue. That was the case I wanted. And so then it was like, crap, now this client doesn't need me anymore and they're not going to be sending me these great checks every month. And so then there goes a third of my revenue right there. And because I was so busy writing briefs until 9 and 10 o'clock at night, I hadn't been doing the marketing that I needed to be doing to have something in the pipeline to replace that client when I won the case. And so then, after the initial jubilation of feeling like, yeah, I won the case, I'm a great lawyer, rawr! Then you have that sinking feeling of where am I going to get my next client from? So I signed up in January 2020. I just finished 2019. This is my first year in business and grossed 116. Numbers wise, revenue wise, I did 360 in 2020. And now, the year's not over yet for 2021. I'm at 991. I know for a fact I'm going to clear $1 million no later than the 15th because that's the day of my next scheduled trust pull. And realistically, we're looking at closing the year around 1.1. This is going to be 2 years in a row of tripling year over year. So basically, you look at from January 2020 to now, and I 10x'd my business. I think I was afraid of hiring, and that really held me back a lot. I thought I couldn't hire because there was too much risk that my revenue might dip again, and then I wouldn't be able to pay the person I hired. Definitely getting home a lot more. When you get up to a team of 10, there's just a lot more people you can delegate to when you need to. That lets you be able to spend more time with them. And then I've also been getting more into, I don't come to the office as much. I tend to work from home more, which means I can just sort of see my kids. One of the really good things about boot camp is they're giving you stuff that you can break off and implement right away. And I was able to do that. And I was able to see some of the initial effects. And so then I could say, okay, like they really have real solutions. And I think that was one of the things that made the difference. There was a lot of fear around the money for me, but in the end, it was one of those situations that I had seen enough evidence that it worked that I ultimately just decided that I had to trust myself to implement it all. And I made the decision to do that. I think one of the things that really surprised me the most was realizing just how simple it is to build $1 million firm. I remember when I first joined in January of 2020. Every January, they have a ceremony where people who crossed $1 million go across the stage and get a hammer to symbolize breaking $1 million barrier. And I remember watching those folks. I was still just coming off my 116 year. I was watching those folks walk across the stage, and I was thinking how far away that seemed. And I was like, what's going on with those people that they can do this, And it turns out it's actually fairly simple.